conversation.
I'd take my
just you and me.
sunglasses off, but I would die.
Here we are. Okay. Awesome. My big old face. Hey everybody, it's Beau from BEAU'D Not Broken. We are up in probably about the most beautiful place right now in Utah, Midway, and we're talking to Dustin. And what an amazing story he's going to have for you. And we all go through challenges. We all are still going through challenges in one way or another. This is the Daily Bend. We help each other out, people telling their stories. We'll download this onto YouTube. We'll have it on my website, beaudnotbroken.com. And we're going to get right into it because it's too beautiful and your story's too amazing anyway. So I'm going to be in the camera a little bit, but I'll kind of be out of it that way. Tell us about you and tell us about why we're here.
Well,
I think we're loud enough. I don't think that's too loud behind us.
I hope not. I'll try and speak up. We were introduced by a good friend who's also you've done a video with, John.
Right, John Gossi.
John Gossi and his Every Life's Worth Living. And after I spoke there and I've told my story to people, kids, parents that are struggling. It seems to resonate in some way or another with a lot of people. And so, my story is about the addiction recovery and my path and the way that it took me through the ups and the downs and the people I've met and definitely the life lessons that I've learned through that course.
So as you can see, large and in charge, football player, that's kind of where everything started, right? Yeah. In college. Yeah. And you began, the only way I can explain is you kind of feel bulletproof when you come out of high school and got a scholarship to BYU, yeah. The whole 9 yards. Kind of take it from there a little bit.
Well, you go to college and you get banged up a little bit, and you learn from other guys that have been there and been through how to get what you need, and you go and ask the doctors, and you kind of work the system a little bit, and you mix prescriptions with alcohol or other things. And
what kinds of things were you into painkillers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously doing what you're doing, getting hit by large people and hitting large people and hitting that whole force versus speed versus all that kind of stuff takes its toll. So you were into the mixture of pain pills and alcohol and things like that.
Yeah, basically I didn't get my hands on it at the time.
How long did that go on during your playing career in college? Yeah. And then kind of tell a little bit about being drafted, and then once it kind of hit you in the head.
Well, and that's that's the thing, is from the time I was very, very young, the goal in mind for me, right, and it was that I was going to play in the NFL. Every school assignment that I had, draw a picture of how you see yourself, in 20 years, and write a letter to yourself, and all those things involved me playing football. And so that's how I had kind of, that's what I had to offer, right, the world at that point. So, but I thought, in part, watching the movies and everything, when you're a football player, girls and partying is what comes along with that lifestyle. Right. And instead of understanding, your craft and the hard work it takes, the dedication, and the time that it takes and commitment to be very, very successful at that, right? I just kind of got my priorities messed up and got kind of caught up in that party whirlwind, I guess. Right. And with the wrong perspective of what football can do. So
the student athlete perspective was a little bit different in your mind than maybe other people. I mean, I know you're no different. I mean, the only reason I know is when I played in college, it was one of those, yes, I was farthest from a student athlete. I tried to be, but I can understand that perspective. So
we were a recreational athlete student.
Exactly. So you went on from college in this format with painkillers and alcohol, and went into the pro ranks. How did that affect you, or how do you think that affected you?
Well, it kind of affected my senior year as far as my progress, right? I mean, I was a mid-season All-American as a junior. We went 12-2, had a great team in 2001.
2001,
yeah.
okay,
And,
BYU.
And, you know, we had a great year. You know, really, I thought about coming out early,
right,
and going to the NFL
right,
my junior year, and, you know, just something about it. My mom didn't, you know, said, you know, you
right,
came here to get your education. Let's stay in school and get your education, get your degree. Let's finish that up. So,
right.
thank goodness I listened to my mom. Thanks, Mom. And
Mom's gonna see this.
Yes, yes.
We'll send it to her.
You know, she, you know, just said, let's not waste this opportunity, you know,
right,
and make sure we get that degree. And so I stayed, got my degree, and in doing that, the partying and the use turned into, you know, as you understand the trail of addiction, it goes from use to misuse to abuse, then to full on.
Hey, we're live. We just need car keys over here. You're watching the Daily Bend on the BEAU'D Not Broken Network, and we're talking to Dustin, and we're talking about his out of college into kind of the pro ranks, and talking about that transition involved with painkillers and alcohol and addiction situation.
So, you know, it was getting to the point of, like I said, use, misuse to abuse, and getting to the point of chemical dependency. You know, and that's
right,
where the disease of addiction gets a hold of you,
right?
And so that's where I felt that grip. I felt that because I couldn't, you know, I felt like I couldn't function without
right,
something in my system,
right,
and reached out and tried to get some help. You know, thought, hey, maybe if I just changed scenery, right, got out of Provo, that things would get better.
Right.
And they did short term, but, you know, as, you know, an addict tends to gravitate towards other people that want to just go have fun, right? And
right.
Want to be the center of attention, which unfortunately I tend to lead towards.
So you're out of college, you get a shot in the pros.
Yep.
It didn't quite work out.
So I went to Oakland in the 6th round, and like I said, just like that's where I saw, like, looking back, the depths of what the disease had a hold of me. Because like I said, I had prepared myself and wanted to be in the NFL.
Right.
But once I was in the NFL, going out and partying and having fun was more important than being in the NFL and being a professional and spending extra time on film and working on my craft, right? It was,
right,
as soon as I was done with my workouts and my training, I was out instead of staying back and doing the extra things, doing the little things that ultimately could have made a difference in a longer career.
So was that the bottom, or did the bottom meaning, you know, I'm not a therapist, but was the bottom, did it come years later, or did it kind of come then, and then really one day you woke up and went, holy Moses,
yeah,
what, you know, where did I come?
There was a couple slaps in the face,
right,
but the rock bottom didn't come until about a year later, when it all kind of, you know, fell in my lap. And that's,
right,
you know, that's the power. But I felt my story in talking to family members and mothers especially, because after I left Oakland, you know, traveled around for a little bit, bodyguard for Dennis Rodman, working in his nightclub, living the nightlife.
For D-Rod, huh?
Yeah, the Worm.
Down in Newport Beach.
Down in Newport Beach.
Yeah, I'm from down that way, so I know exactly where he lives.
It was a little crazy.
Wow.
So, you know, I started getting into, you know, some of the club drugs,
right,
and things like that, and got another shot. My agent called me and said, hey, we got a workout for you with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to go up to LA and work out for Dick Vermeil and his staff. And
right.
Went out there and knocked it out of the park. And they were ready to sign me. And that was on a Thursday. And so what does an addict do once he gets that phone call, hey, they want to sign you, they're ready to go? Well, it's time to party.
It's time to party.
Right? So not putting it all together that there's probably going to be a drug test happening on Monday morning, right? I go out and party pretty hard and show up there and tell them what I've been up to, and they say, well, we're going to need to get a blood and urine from you.
Right.
And so,
right.
So I tested positive for cocaine and opiates, and had to make that phone call to my mom and say, hey, I remember I was going to sign a contract. I actually need you to find me a treatment facility so I can come home and take care of some things. So went through the 28-day program here in Utah, and got some good tools. Right? Got a good groundwork of understanding the disease, but I wasn't done yet, unfortunately. Went back to Kansas City. They decided they didn't want to sign the contract. Came back to Utah, started playing arena ball. Just trying to kind of work the football juices still, and ended up breaking my ankle. And so, of course, here comes the opiates again. And kind of dabbled in that, and got another friend involved that I was in treatment with, and this is kind of where that next level of rock bottom hit. When a friend of mine's daughter called and said, "My father's passed away. My father's no longer with us. And he had overdosed and died, and left behind a wife and 5 kids." And that being involved and being a part of that really shook me to the core. But even then, I still wasn't done yet, because I hadn't really cleared my side of the street. And still, at that point, now that I lost the NFL career, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what defined me, what I had to work to offer the world, besides being a football player. So I was kind of in this identity crisis. Who am I? What do I do? I just go work a desk job. What am I doing? And it was kind of a turn. And it was finally my mom that I was living in her house.
When was this? Sorry to interrupt.
This was about 2004. So this
2004.
is about a year later.
Okay.
That she said, "I know what you're doing. I know what's going on. So don't try and lie to me. I need you, when you're done with your shift tonight, you go home and pack up your stuff. I need you to move out. We've made agreements. We broke those agreements, and I'm sorry, but that's the consequences you have to, And if that's the life that you want with your partying and your drugs, then you can have it. But it's not going to involve us. We're not going to sit by and watch you kill yourself. But if you want a life of recovery, and find a path, find something you love, and if you want that, I'm willing to support you to do that." And so at that point, I had to.
Wow, there's a mom.
Yeah.
There's a mom. Yeah. That's awesome.
That was kind of the that line in the sand. And my girlfriend, now my wife, helped me through that process, and supported me and loved me through those painful times, and I finally was able to kind of work through those things and be okay with who I am. I know that I do have other things to offer. I do have my story and my love and my compassion for people, and my ability to connect with people. Not just about recovery, but I enjoy coaching. I enjoy sharing the talents that I've received through playing ball and through life with other people, and feel that I'm able to do that pretty well.
Have you been sharing your story since then?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, that was 2004, and so there was about 8-10 years where I just worked in corporate America, That was just kind of the side piece of Dustin that I didn't really want the corporate world to know about. But then that all kind of the corporate
But then
thing
you
came
probably
to an
found
end.
it in the corporate world too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there, And so I had to help
exactly.
people through that process, and their family members in the corporate world. But then, that ended. I got laid off from the job and really had to do some soul searching, and went and interviewed with another treatment facility and shared my story, and they went, "Wow, it's really powerful. I think that your story could really help a lot of people." And as I continue to tell it and continue to express, the things that I've learned and the life lessons that I have, and seeing people's response to that, it just allowed me to say, "Wow, I really do have something that is that people can relate to." But from a mom's perspective, especially, like I said, they say, "Wow, so you're saying if I draw healthy boundaries with my loved one who's struggling with addiction, it's actually going to help them, not hurt them." And so many people don't understand that,
You're watching BEAU'D Not Broken, the Daily Bend, and we're with Dustin, and you know what? This is the part of the show we're about 15 minutes into it or 10 minutes into it, and I'm always grateful that people like you are willing to come on, because it kind of hits home with me, the physical part, the football part, the jock part, the the whole thing, you know, that was my life many years. I'm 53 years old, so I'm 20 years, you know, earlier than that. But to see someone like you that is helping so many people, that's a great inspiration. So you tell us a little bit about you being here. We're here at
Aqua Recovery,
okay,
up in Midway,
and how long have you been with them for a while now?
Yeah, I've been with them for a couple months now.
Okay.
I was with another treatment facility previous, but you know, have come up here, and really, you know, like I said, you know, once you come up here,
right.
what I kind of love the hashtag of, you know, this is an escape, not an escape, but I wrote it down on the thing.
It's okay. It's all right. We're not scripted here, so it's all good.
Anyways, it's you know, it's a place for hope,
right?
And you know, for people to have that place to come to, a sanctuary,
right?
Sanctuary for hope. Hashtag.
There we go. We'll make sure we put that in all this
yeah,
stuff.
with Aqua Recovery. So we're on Facebook. You know, we have a website. Just check it out. And like you said, if you ever, you know, if there's people out there that just want to come and see it, and look at it.
How many people are here at this facility?
So they're actually out on a beautiful hike up here in the
okay.
mountains right now. We take them out to do a lot of recreational activities because obviously we're in, you know, right in the
right,
mecca of it.
right.
And they're out on a hike right now, but we can see.
I'm gonna pull this up a little bit, kind of show you a little bit of where we are. Michelle, don't move. Michelle can't move. We've got several buildings. Obviously, we're gonna kind of go a little bit of a 360 here. Yeah, and you're gonna get. And we have our friend Michelle here. She's hanging out, being our little, being our audience. There she is. And I didn't mean to embarrass you. And then we're kind of coming back to here. This is a beautiful spot. What, you know, this is a show of people helping people, and you know, there's no judgment. We don't judge, and everybody's going through something. And it always seems to me that very often it's addiction issues, whether you're in corporate America or you're homeless or you're a ball player in any sport, or you're a doctor, I mean, all the it's not just one part of the world, which is interesting.
No.
And maybe talk to that about how does one, I guess it's, how do you know, if you can inspire people to reach out, that's the biggest thing, is how do you do that?
Well,
how do you get people to reach out and, you know, not necessarily come to your facility, but just get help?
Right, just reach out, right? Just let somebody know, hey, I'm struggling with this right now, and get past the guilt and the shame. The guilt and the shame are the two things that hold, I would say, you know, 50-60% of the people from getting the help that they need, because they feel so much guilt and shame for the things that they've done, the lies, the deceit, you know, anything that's involved with the disease. But we can get past that guilt and shame, and that's what I tell people when they come in here. When you come and you check into Aqua, right? The guilt, the things that you've done in the past are behind you.
Right.
Right. We accept you as you are.
Right.
We accept you that you come to the door and you're looking for help. Right. And those other things that you've done, right, we'll help you work through them if they need. You know, there's legal help. If you need to kind of clear things up and amend things with friendships, relationships, family, we'll help you through that process. And it is a process. You have to understand that, right? It's not a quick fix.
Right.
We didn't get there through our addiction in 30 days. So to get out of it in 30 days isn't really realistic. But with diligent, you know, consistent work, you know, we can get you the life of meaning and purpose that you want.
Wow, meaning and purpose. That's really has to be self-defined too.
Yeah,
and by people, they really have to find that on their own. How about to parents or, you know, work associates or really good friends that have people that you know, they know that they've traveled down that path a few times.
Yeah.
You know, is there? It may be a stupid question, but it's also an honest question. You know, what do you tell them? Does it depend on who it is, or do you do the tough love, like mom did, like your mom did?
But every situation is different, right? Unfortunately, some people would have taken that that hard line,
Right.
right, and taking that as rejection, or,
Right.
or that they don't love me anymore, and not really listen to what my mom was saying. Is that I love you, and I want to love you,
Right.
but I can't love you and watch you kill yourself. I can't
Right.
be a part of that. But I can help you and do what's needed to get you the help you need in recovery and get you where you need to go. So that, so those are two very different perspectives. But not everybody is in that healthy state of mind, right? And I wasn't in a healthy state of mind. I just
Right.
had, it was thank goodness my wife was there to help me through that and understand that, hey, they love you, but the things that you're doing aren't really the life that they can be a part of. And so, as a parent now, and I see that, I thought that's a very difficult thing to do. It would be difficult to do for my kids, is to say, look, I can't be a part of that if that's the life you're going to live, right? I mean, I've talked to parents that, well, I want to help them, but they're standing on the doorstep and they're freezing cold and they haven't eaten in 3 days.
Right.
How do I just turn them away?
Right. And
right?
that's,
How do I do that?
Yeah.
That's my kid. That's
Right.
my blood. And now that's definitely something that you gotta have a voice or have that still small voice that's gonna tell you, okay, you gotta listen to your gut here, right? Because if they understand, maybe they're not at their rock bottom yet, even though they're standing out there and they haven't eaten 3 days and it's cold and they don't have a place to go, and you bring them in, and this happens a lot, right? You bring them in, you clothe them, you feed them, and day 3 you wake up and your jewelry's gone, your guns are out of the safe, and they're nowhere to be found, right? And so now I say, well, what was I supposed to do? Well, that's the difficult part about this, right? Is as an addict, when we get in our midbrain, and that's the part of where the addiction of the disease in the brain lives, right? Our frontal cortex, where all of our decision making and rationale and the good parts of our brain that help us to be a functional member of society are turned off, right? That midbrain takes over, and it's whatever they have to do to get that next high, right? Whoever I have to steal
hunter
from.
instinct.
It is.
It's a hunter
your
instinct.
carnal. That's where your carnal instincts are, and so, that's the difficult decision to tell a parent. Look, have you been down this road before? Right? Have they been standing out
and
there?
most likely they have.
Right.
What do you say to cost? I mean, I used to hear it all the time as a police officer, all those kinds of things. Oh, it just costs so much, but how do you...
Insurances can help, church organizations can help if you have nothing. Obviously, from a perspective of a family member, right? Do I want to continue to bail them out of jail and feed their habit?
Lose your house,
and pay
do
for
whatever.
Hospital trips? That you're going to probably spend more than what you would pay to get them help. Right. So it's which one am I willing to part ways with, and ultimately it may not work, right? Not everybody is meant to overcome this disastrous disease in this lifetime. But for me, to give them the best opportunity is giving them a safe place to go and talk about those deep dark secrets, those underlying issues, any of the mental health things that are going on. We can help them with here. We're a dual diagnosis facility.
Nice. Very nice.
So, our therapists here deal with trauma. She worked at the VA for 7 years.
So you got PTSD issues or whatever?
We do EMDR, CBT, DBT, any those types of trauma that are comorbid with this disease, right? They're much, people that are experiencing pain. Well, if I'm experiencing pain, the only way I definitely know, because I don't have the life tools, the life skills to deal with this pain in a proper way, I know that if I go to my drug of choice, it'll numb it. Right. No matter what the consequences are, the health risks, all those things, I just know that I won't be able to deal with the pain in here and here if I go to that drug of choice. So how do I get more skills, life skills, to deal with those things, right? That we learn in treatment and the therapist to, okay, I'm kind of freaking out right now. Normally I'd go use, but I think today I'm gonna go do yoga. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go on a hike. I'm gonna call up a friend that I know will listen to me and give me their ear and really give me some realistic advice, right? Even if it's tough advice I don't want to hear, I know I have a friend or a therapist or a loved one that I can call up on the phone and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this.
something comes to mind. I hope you'll invite me up again.
Absolutely.
I'd like to come up again. We're in a really private place, and you know, I appreciate you letting me come up and film this. I realize people's privacy, especially when they're involved in something like this, is pretty special.
It is.
So I hope maybe, you know, maybe in a couple weeks we can do it again.
We'll come and go fishing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And
Yeah.
talk about, you know, I know there's more to your story, but then also I'd really love to get into, you know, all the successes that you've seen.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm sure you've seen quite a few, and that's something that I'd kind of like to follow up with.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get your story. Pretty inspirational. I also like to get you, if you get out to groups and something, I'd love to come and, you know, not here because we've got privacy issues, but if you're ever out somewhere, I'd love to have you, you know.
You know, if there's a listener out there, you want me to come speak to your business, your school,
Awesome.
your teams, anything like that, you know, you think, you know, hey, things are, could be getting risky, or there are some people that I'd like to impact indirectly that are in the crowd, or that, you know,
I think they ought to make it, I think they ought to have it mandatory for you going out and talking to these high school teams, or a group of friends as well, and to go out and talk, because I mean, I have 3 kids in high school now, have 3 out, but 3 in, and it's just crazy what's going on.
It really
and
is.
Not to just focus on that, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are suffering from addiction issues, don't know where to go, don't know how to get through it. Hopefully you can see Dustin as a resource. We're going to put up this facility that we're here, his information. He's on Facebook as well. Everything that we can do to help you out. Just a very inspiring story, and it hits home because, you know, I had jock friends that, you know, had problems as well, and their whole lives were just destroyed at an early age, and ended up in prison and all those things, and so it's pretty near and dear to my heart. So anything you want to close with? I usually let the guests give their maybe a last little
like I
close.
said, you know, here at Aqua Recovery, we want to be a sanctuary for hope. We want to help you or your loved one that may be struggling. Just reach out. Find me on Facebook. Go to Aqua Recovery, ACQUA recovery.com, and you know, just understand that we're here to help. You're worth it. A lot of people, when they're in recovery, they beat themselves up so bad internally, and in here they just, I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of going to a nice facility like that. You're worth it. You're very much worth it. And
you hear that?
You deserve the opportunity to change your life.
You hear that, everybody out there? And we'll post this, and that's what the Daily Bend's all about, is making sure you know you're worth it, and you can help somebody. And if there's anybody else out there, you know, that's struggling or whatever it might be with anything, all the guests that we have on are very approachable, and hope you'll use them as a resource. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Appreciate it. This is beautiful. I wish I could spend the rest of maybe sleep over up here. Thanks for watching, everybody, and don't forget, it's all about the Bend. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.